Gerardo Vito Catena, better known as Jerry Catena, was born in 1902 in Newark, New Jersey. He resided for many years in South Orange, New Jersey, at a home valued in 1962 at $50,000, a very significant sum for that era. He was well known as an avid golfer and was often seen at the Boca Raton Hotel and Club. He also kept a winter retreat down in South Florida for decades. Jerry Catena attended the infamous ill-fated Appalachian Convention in 1957 and was cited for it. He received a lot of ink in the papers over that case, but his conviction for obstructing justice would be overturned, as would all the convictions on constitutional grounds. Nobody ever served a day. Catena started his hoodlum career out of the Newark, New Jersey area during the Prohibition era. He worked closely with Abner Longy Zwillman, serving as his bodyguard and chauffeur. Zwillman was one of the top underworld powers in his day in the northern New Jersey area. Eventually, Catena would ally with northern New Jersey-based Italians and join a fledgling, newly formed Cosa Nostra as a soldier. In later years, he would rise to capo status. Ultimately, by the mid-1960s, he rose to the acting boss-underboss position as a trusted follower of Vito Genovese. As such, he became a sitting member of the commission, representing his family's interests for years as Vito's proxy. Jerry was known as an extremely wealthy member and a millionaire many, many times over. He was arguably one of the most low-key and wealthy members of the Genovese family, indeed, all of Cosa Nostra. Early on in his career, Jerry Catena utilized strong-arm methods to gain pivotal control of the vending machine industry in northern New Jersey and metropolitan New York City. He held nationwide investments ranging from automobile carriers in Detroit to bars, nightclubs, and restaurants, as well as extensive real estate holdings. He also held significant ownership points, aka the Skim, in various Las Vegas casino operations, including the Sands, Fremont, and the Horseshoe Hotel and Casino being among them. He was a major stockholder in Bally Corporation, one of the largest jukebox, pinball, and slot machine manufacturers in the world. He also had investments in Runyon Vending Sales Company, one of the largest vending machine distributors in the New York, New Jersey area, Advance Vending Company, a jukebox and cigarette machine firm, People's Express Company, a trucking firm, and Cool Vent Awning Corporation. All were based in Newark, which was always his base of operations. Jerry Catena's arrest record starts in 1923 and includes arrests for armed robbery, hijacking, bribing a federal juror, and suspicion of murder. As a side note, this 1934 bribery case had to do with reaching a juror sitting on the panel, hearing a murder case against future New Jersey boss Nicholas Nicky Dell Delmore. Nicky Dell was accused of shooting a Prohibition agent during a still raid. Jerry Catena knew and was an intimate of nearly the entire Italian and Jewish underworld coast to coast in his time, including Vito Genovese, Lucky Luciano, Joe Adonis, Tony Bendestrollo, Mike Miranda, Tommy Ryan Ebele, Frank Costello, Settimo Accardi, Gyp DiCarlo, Richie the Boot Boiardo, Santo Trafficante Jr., Meyer Lansky, Charlie the Blade Tureen, and many more. His personal crew consisted of his brother Eugene Gene Catena, a capable New Jersey-based capo and Jerry's close, lifelong right-hand man. Gene controlled their joint crew while his brother ran the administration for the family. Joseph Joe Peck Pecora, a soldier in the Catena regime and secretary-treasurer of Local 863, International Brotherhood of Teamsters, as well as his two brothers, Thomas Tommy Murphy Pecora, also a regime soldier and the organizer of Local 575, Automatic Sales Servicemen and Allied Workers Union, a union local that represented workers in the vending machine industry, and Edward Eddie Peck Pecora, a family associate, Catena minion, and president of Local 575. John Johnny Coca-Cola Lardiere, a longtime soldier in Catena's regime who would be killed years later. Anthony Tony Provenzano, an infamous family soldier, notorious top labor racketeer, and prime suspect in the murder of Jimmy Hoffa. Tony would end up dying in federal prison while serving an unrelated term for a racketeering conviction. Salvatore Sammy Provenzano, Tony's brother and disciple. He was president of their New Jersey-based Teamsters Local. Sammy was also a convicted counterfeiter. and there were many others in Jerry's regime as well. Jerry Catena holds a dubious record of having served more time in prison than anybody else in U.S. history for a contempt of court conviction. He served over 5 years in a prison cell for having taken the Fifth Amendment over 114 times and refusing to answer questions before a grand jury. He served his bid in state prison in Yardville, New Jersey. At that time, many other top hoods were alumni of Yardville. Angelo Bruno, Antonio Tony Bananas Caponegro, Ralph Blackie Napoli, and Louis Bobby Manna were just a few of many jailed for contempt. With Vito Genovese's jailing for 15 years in 1959 on a heroin conviction that would eventually see him die behind bars in Atlanta Federal Penitentiary, he had tapped Catena, Tommy Ebele, and Mike Miranda as acting boss, acting underboss, and acting consigliere, respectively. In a classic case of underworld penetration of legitimate business and what became a major scandal leading to an intense FBI investigation during the late 1960s, Jerry and Gene Catena and a company they had hidden ownership in called Best Sales Incorporated came under deep scrutiny for their promotion of a spray detergent product named Polyclean. The brothers were attempting to get the product on the shelves of several major supermarket chains in the tri-state area, specifically the A&P supermarket chain, which was the main target of their efforts. When the chain store hesitated to stock their product after determining that it was faulty and possibly even a carcinogen to the environment, the Catenas and their henchmen went on a terror campaign against A&P. Multiple supermarket locations were subjected to a series of massive arsons, and several store managers were threatened and assaulted. 2 store managers were shot to death. The Catena brothers, Gene in particular, were incensed by A&P's refusal to acquiesce to the mob's demands. He was actually recorded on a hidden microphone promising to knock A&P's brains out. Only after law enforcement brought an unprecedented amount of heat did they relinquish their quest and cease and desist their terrorist attack. We do not believe anyone was ever brought to justice during this investigation. During a protracted investigation by authorities, it was determined that company sales skyrocketed from $3 million to over $8 million in only a few years. Best Sales was the exclusive agent promoting Polyclean. Once the FBI enlightened the product's manufacturer as to whom they'd gone to bed with and the sales tactics used to promote their product, the maker looked to break business ties with the Catena brothers. They were coerced into a 13-year contract that was drawn and signed, stipulating a guaranteed payment of almost $26,000 a year to Jerry Catena and his Best Sales brokerage firm to stop their solicitation efforts on behalf of Polyclean. Such was the way business was done in New Jersey in the 1960s era. Jerry chose to move down to Boca Raton permanently in his later years, living a quiet life after a career chock full of murder and intrigue. He died in 2000 at the ripe old age of 98 years old. And although he did suffer a bit with that BS bid he did in Yardville, all in all, he lived a pretty charmed life and stayed out of the fray for the most part, dying a near zillionaire. A very smart and shrewd man, that Gerardo.
Our segment 3 this evening, the Bally Manufacturing Company, which makes slot machines and various other coin machines. Las Vegas soon will have no monopoly on legal gambling in this country because casinos are about to open in Atlantic City and maybe thereafter in other states. One of the big worries about this is how to keep out organized crime. And so law enforcement agencies have been looking closely at a number of companies in the legal gambling business, including Bally. Here's Brian Ross.
This is the Bally Manufacturing Company, the world's largest manufacturer of slot machines. Bally stock is heavily traded on the New York Stock Exchange. Bally has had a spectacular growth in the last 15 years based on its ability to put Bally machines in almost every major casino. This is Gerardo Catena, an important figure in organized crime in this country, and one of Bally's original investors as a secret partner. Federal and state investigators reported to the governor of Florida last year that Catena is the acting boss of the Genovese Mafia family, one of the most ruthless criminal organizations in the country. When Catena's investment in Bally was revealed, he quickly sold his stock. but Catena's former partners kept control of Bally. One of them is William O'Donnell, the president of Bally. He says Catena had nothing to do with Bally's success, and that Bally no longer has any ties to the mob.
Mr. Catena never even so much as picked up a telephone and asked me how business was.
Have you made any efforts in the last few years to determine if Catena has any so-called hidden interest in the company?
Yes, I have.
And what have your investigations shown?
Absolutely nothing.
No interest at all?
No interest whatsoever.
But law enforcement investigators in a number of states are asking questions about Catena's relationship with this man, Sam Klein, one of the original investors with Catena in Bally and still one of Bally's biggest stockholders. Could you describe your relationship with Jerry Catena?
I have no relationship with Jerry Catena.
Is he a business associate?
None whatsoever, and never has been, and that's just like asking me, why did I kill Jack Kennedy, or did I know about it? You're causing an innuendo that has no basis in fact to establish something you want to do.
Are you in a social relationship with Mr. Catena?
I don't see Mr. Catena except by chance.
But investigators say more than chance is involved in the Klein-Catena relationship. Last year, the Nevada Gaming Control Commission cracked down on Bally because of Klein's relationship with Catena and ordered Klein to quit as a Bally company director, ordered Klein to sell all of his Bally stock by 1980, and fined Klein $50,000. The Nevada action was based in part on this intelligence report from the police in Boca Raton, Florida, where both Klein and Catena live. The report states that Catena and Klein were in the same golf foursome, and that Mr. Catena was the guest of Mr. Klein. Klein says the Nevada action was unfair, but he has paid the $50,000 fine and quit the company's board of directors, although he remains very close to the people who run Bally. Do you continue to discuss matters of Bally business with Sam Klein?
I talk to Sam Klein from time to time, yes.
Does that violate the spirit of the Nevada Gaming Commission?
No, it does not. No, it does not.
NBC News has learned that at the same time Klein is under order from Nevada to sell all his Bally stock, the Securities and Exchange Commission is investigating Klein and Bally. The SEC wants to know more about large loans Klein made to an associate, whether Klein has tried to gain a hidden interest in Bally with the loans. In a confidential memorandum, SEC investigators reported these loans have ranged from $600,000 to $1,400,000. Most of the proceeds of these loans have been used to purchase Bally stock. The associate who received the Klein loans denies any wrongdoing and says he has since repaid Klein all he owes him. Klein has refused to talk with NBC News about the SEC investigation. In 1975, the New York Stock Exchange permitted Bally stock to be traded publicly, and it zoomed. In 15 months, Bally stock more than tripled in value. Bally says the fact that its stock is traded here is evidence the company has a clean record. And the company has plans to expand its gambling empire. Bally says it will build a $50 million hotel and casino on the boardwalk in Atlantic City, New Jersey, where voters last year approved legalized gambling. And the company continues to grow and grow, even though there are still questions whether there are ties between Bally and the reputed boss of a Mafia family. One of its biggest stockholders has been ordered to get out of Bally altogether. The company is now under investigation in Florida, Nevada, Connecticut, and by the federal government. Bally says all of its problems are in the past, and that the company now is one of the big success stories in American business. Brian Ross, NBC News.
Be sure to check out the button guys of the New York Mafia website at www.thenewyorkmafia.com for more mobster profiles and mafia history. Thank you for watching. Until next time.